Hey people! So Unity 5 came out this week, and I hope you are just as excited as I was when I heard it. The servers were like down for 3 hours in a row, but never mind. It's always the same. But anyway, as promised, with Unity 5 out now, MeshBrush update 1.3 gets released with it. And that's also what this video is about. So let's talk about some of the changes and additions to the tool. So let's start with the first addition, which is also the most requested one by the community: mesh deletion. Believe it or not, with version 1.3 you can now actually delete the stuff you've painted. Yay! The bad news is you can't undo it. But there's a good reason behind that, and you are probably gonna like it, so bear with me. To delete meshes, just hover your paintbrush over the spot where you want to delete your painted objects of that group and hit the delete key. The default key for deleting meshes is L. This will kill the meshes permanently, and the reason why you can't undo this is performance. Which brings us to the second change in 1.3. I added the paint buffer algorithm, which allows for rapid iteration and really fast paint strokes. The MeshBrush's performance has improved a lot since the beginning of this project, and it has become really a lot faster. And as long as you stay under, I'd say, approximately 30,000 meshes per group, the scene view will never stall, hiccup, or anything like that. I know it did that in the past, and I'm sorry I didn't fix it earlier. But hey, at least now you can actually hold down your paint button for quite some time without completely killing the editor's scene view. And this buffering technique is also applied to the deletion of meshes, which, sure, on one side unfortunately takes away the ability to undo the action of deleting meshes via the buffer, but it really helps the editor's performance a lot. You can still undo regular mesh placement and paint strokes though. And remember, whenever you notice that you can't combine meshes anymore, or the performance is just getting worse and worse, you can always separate some of your painted meshes into secondary groups, or, create new groups for specific areas in your map. It's always nice to have your scene's mesh brushes, and your scenes in general, well organized anyway. So keep that in mind. The next feature I want to talk about is the new grouping system. Remember when I told you back in the first tutorial video that this string field here on top of the inspector view is completely useless? Well, now it has finally found its purpose of existence. Now you can group together your painted meshes under a specific root holder object. This one here. This feature is name driven, so whenever you change the name in one instance of MeshBrush, as you can see, its corresponding group holder object gets renamed accordingly. With this, you can now organize your mesh brushes even better and keep your scenes tidy. A good idea, for example, is to divide your mesh brush groups based on the areas of the scene. This helps keeping track of where your stuff is and generally gives a good overview of the stuff you paint. Let's say, for example, you're creating a rural scene, and you would have something like Forest Rocks Group 1, Forest Rocks Group 2, and I don't know, Sawmill Detail Group 1, for example. So that's that. Next, we have the small addition to the inspector. You can now choose a random number of meshes to paint instead of being bound to the fixed amount of previous versions. I also updated the documentation, so in case you want to get started with a manual, the old crippled text file has been replaced by a nicely formatted PDF file, so you can look up stuff in the docs whenever you need it. Then I have fixed several bugs and stability issues. Most of it quite small stuff usually, but there were also quite important things, like for instance when you removed a MeshBrush component in the older versions and immediately after you pressed undo, it printed several errors to the console. So that stuff is fixed now. So the last thing I want to talk about is the updated mesh combine functionality. Some people have been telling me on the forums that it was impossible to save combined meshes as prefabs, and that trying to do so often ended up destroying the entire set of painted meshes accidentally. That is really unacceptable, and I'm sorry if this has happened to some of you. The problem behind this is that the combined mesh data is stored and embedded into the scene's root. It was meant to be practical, because if you don't plan on reusing the mesh in other scenes, you won't be bloating up your project folder that way for each combined mesh. Although I do now recognize that there are some cases and scenarios in which you want to reuse the meshes you have combined, so let me show you how this works. So when you click on save, it asks you where you want to store it. You hit OK, alright, and there you go. It's all set up, it's all done. You can already make a prefab out of it and reuse it. I think that's it for this video, actually. As always, if you have any questions, feedback, or requests, or whatever, just feel free to leave a comment, be it here or inside the Unity forum thread, or just send me an email. Cheers and have a good one.